You're listening to the We Are Libertarians Podcast Network. Find all of our shows at wearelibertarians.com. You're listening to the We Are Libertarians Network. Learn more at wearelibertarians.com.
Welcome to the Boss Hog of Liberty podcast. This is episode number 214 of East Central's favorite podcast. Jeremiah Morrell today, joined by co-host Dakota Davis and Jesse Riddle. We had a special Patreon a moment ago, and basically a tornado came through town. We broke a sign. I believe a child may have taken a swig of bourbon, or at least smelled it and ran away. Dakota is trying to fix his microphone. It is falling apart after Jackson was helping with Patreon. Jesse knocked over, if you go to Patreon, Jesse ruined a $65 pie. I'm not bitter about it at all because content. Dakota, you got things put back together?
Content.
That's right. Today's episode features just the three of us. We're going to be talking about George Bush making his opinions known on Joe Biden's Afghanistan plans. And then we're also going to be talking about Joe Biden once again with his right to repair executive order, what that means for you and what that means for the local economy when it comes to farmers.
This show is about our lives in rural Indiana. We're here to push your boundaries and make you think as individuals. Sometimes we'll provoke you, other times we'll make you laugh, but hopefully you'll always learn something new. This episode does come with a warning. There is a pretty significant thunderstorm that's just crossing into Henry County, and I sit next to a hero who gets called out every time that the lights flicker. So at some point, he may run away on me, and this may become a slightly abbreviated show. But we're here,
or we may go black.
We're here, and we're trying.
It may go dark.
We're just going to tell Dakota to not look at his phone for a little while, and it's going to be fine.
I want to look at the phones.
What's he doing over there? He's grabbing his phone to make sure he knows when it tries to call him out. Oh, we just did the Patreon. It was expensive, but fun, I guess. It cost me $65.
Yeah. And you have a good pie to show for it.
It was blue ribbon pie from the Henry County 4-H Fair.
Oh, beautiful. It looks like the storm is not that bad anymore.
Yeah, the warnings have...
it's fallen apart. It's going to be okay. It fell apart like the pie on the floor.
Oh, we got some big ones coming.
Need to thank
Anderson's just getting thwacked.
Need to thank Christy Avery, who I think we're going to see this weekend potentially at a private event put together by Chris Spangle, John Phillips, Andy Moore, Buick GMC, Andy Meyer, and Fiddler's Green Cigar Company, Chris Lamb. Thank you to all of you for your continued massive $50 or more a month support to the podcast.
That's right. And at patreon.com/BossHogOfLiberty, you get the show notes ahead of time. And if you are a Patreon member, then you've got some pretty good show notes this week, if I do say so myself. I wrote them. There's some good information in them, some stuff that we're going to be talking about. There's some good links in there that I pulled the information from. There's also a link to a Vice video that's going to help a lot whenever we get to the right to repair policy. It would be a great thing if you would click on that link, Patreon member who's listening to this, and watch it when it's safe. I know you're probably in your car right now listening to us, but that would be a good thing to do. We also have T-Chip stores, tchip.com/BHO1234 or mug. I don't know if we have a producer today. We don't have a producer that's going to put those in the chat right now. But if you go to bosshogofliberty.com, there's links to them there. And bosshogofliberty.com is our website. It's been revamped. Jesse Riddle is on the website.
We don't have a producer tonight, and we have an empty chair because we thought Audrey was going to be with us, but she got called out for her emergency.
She had to go to work.
She had to do some cup making. That's the Chris Staten in memorial chair is what that is. Dakota can't stay in his seat. I think he took some speed or something. He cannot possibly stay in his seat tonight. He's all over the place. Yeah. He's up and he's down.
He's had a good day. I think he's had a good day.
You turn the show over to him for a second, and he's like, nope, I'm leaving again. Can't count on me.
He's back on those carbs, man.
Count on me.
Energy again.
Yeah, he's going to come crashing down. He'd been sneaking bites of this pie for quite a while. So now he's probably going to come total sugar.
And I had
crashing.
ice cream before we came.
Oh my God. Yeah. That explains the behavior. Andy's on beer.
This is my first beer.
Andy's on beer.
He had a shot of,
sound like my mother.
He had a shot of the Redbreast. He tried a Mickey's and now he's on to his third alcoholic drink in a half an hour.
I didn't even have a shot.
There are breasts here.
I just like to get a little sip of the Redbreast before we get started.
Don't you like to start your night out with a sip of Redbreast?
I don't know.
It's good. It's really good.
Maybe one day.
So, Dakota, we each picked a topic tonight. When I say we, I mean you and I.
Yeah.
And you said we're talking about Jorge Bush and his opinion on current president. What's the guy's name? Not Donald Trump. It's Joe Biden.
Hairy legs.
Joseph Biden.
You know the thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Joe Biden and he's following through on the campaign promise of Barack Obama and actually taking troops out of Afghanistan.
Yeah, but
I feel like he's just riding the coattails of Trump, who was already setting it for
doing
August
it as well.
or something.
No, Trump was earlier. I
that's
think
right.
that the troops were supposed to be out in May with Trump.
Yeah,
And
that's what it was.
then Biden actually
Extended
it to August. But the media, the mainstream media you would never know that, because whenever Biden announced that they were being withdrew in August, the media is like, oh, look at our great peaceful president. He's pulling the troops. He's bringing the troops home. Yeah. And it's like, but later.
I was going to say, I remember then. I was like, they are not talking about how this wasn't his idea. They were just like, well, they're going to remove him in August. I was like, well, he's pushed the date back.
Yeah. Well, and the problem is that Trump had brokered this deal because Al Qaeda is big again in Afghanistan. It's not so much you have Al Qaeda, you have ISIS. They're different groups, even though like we tend to think of them as the same people, and there's a lot of overlap. But they are actually different groups. Al Qaeda has been around since the Bush days. They didn't just go away, but they've been growing again in Afghanistan. And Trump talked to the Afghan government. They actually talked to leaders of Al Qaeda, and they were able to come to an agreement that Al Qaeda they're gonna stay in their place. They're not going to try to conquer as they were before. And they came up with the date. And that's when Trump said, okay. Or Trump's people. It's not like Trump was actually over there with Al Qaeda. So
what you have now is you have a president from 3 terms ago that started by sending these folks into Afghanistan 20 years ago. And he's now openly questioning the current president's policy of withdrawing the troops, saying that you're going to create a vacuum and what's going to happen.
Yeah, well, and it seemed like George Bush's major concern, and this was with actually a German reporter that Bush was talking to whenever this story broke. So Bush is talking to this German reporter, and he just said basically, like, I think that this is a mistake. And he basically said, just cited the atrocities that Al Qaeda has committed over there. I mean, and said like
George Bush nobody made him talk to a reporter. This is out there because he wants it to be out there.
Yeah, he was talking. Yeah, and he fully knew that probably it was going to be major news. And in my mind, I saw it, and I thought the reason I wanted to talk about it is because I think it's kind of an interesting dynamic if you've listened to the show for a long time, because I think that when this show first started, I would have been calling George Bush an idiot and saying that what he was saying was foolish and just get the troops out. They don't need to be over there. But now it's
what are you going to accomplish?
He's kind of right.
Yeah, what are you going to accomplish though? If you stay there, are you going to stay there another 20 years and have the same thing and continue to spend American money being there? You're going to have the same result whether you're there for 100 years or you're there for 5 more years or you're done this August. At some point you're going to let go or you're going to be there for the rest of time until the country fails. One of those is going to happen. So the question is okay, when are you pragmatic enough to say, okay, we're done?
Yeah, you're right. But there's going to be a lot of innocent people that get murdered in horrible ways because of that.
It's been happening for 20 years.
At a less of a rate when we're there. That's
there
kind of
are
the problem.
horrible atrocities the entire time, and the U.S.
There's
has
going
been
to
playing.
there's going to be innocent people die either way. You just have to go, like, it's just a hard thing to think about.
Your entire life, the U.S. has been playing it since you were 5 years old, right?
Yeah.
The U.S. has been over there. So it's an inconceivable thought to you to not be the world's policeman and being in charge of Afghanistan. But there are horrible atrocities that happen in Africa all the time.
Right.
The U.S. does not have boots on the ground, and we're not involved.
Yeah. The issue is that we've played a major role in radical, especially during the Obama era. During Obama's era, we went from very strategic, because this is one thing that Bush was good about. Bush was good about listening to his military leaders who utilized
Jesse.
And they did.
Do you want to drop another beer in the pie?
Oh, wow, there's just like an icicle hanging off the edge of peanut butter. But Bush did a really good job of listening to the people in the military that were advising him about utilizing people like special operations teams, like the Navy SEALs, the Army Rangers, people like that who could be strategic, go in surgically.
The neoconservatives are really, really good at war games. Yeah. They're practiced at it.
So they would
Been
go
doing
in
it since Nixon.
They would go, we've got bad guys here. Go, and they would send a team of highly trained, specialized men and take out those individuals. The civilian casualty rate was much lower during George Bush's term than Obama's term, because with Obama, he wanted the numbers to look better of how many troops we were sending over to the foreign soil, because he had campaigned on change, bringing the troops home. So he wanted the numbers in Afghanistan and Iraq to be going down steadily throughout his term. So that's whenever we moved more dramatically towards unmanned drone strikes. And the problem with an unmanned drone strike is that it's not as accurate as 6 guys with some guns.
You also lost a tremendous amount of in the George Bush era. You lost a tremendous amount of American troops, and there was a time where we just kept it was called the surge, right? You kept sending more and more and more Americans over there, and we lost an incredible amount of American soldiers in that process as well. It's a terrible war. Terrible war. Invasion, occupation, conflict. You pick.
I know. I'm just saying.
The war on terror and the occupation of Afghanistan.
Yeah. I just think there's something bigger at hand. And I'm not even a conspiracy theorist. I'm just like, there's no reason for it. So, again,
there's absolutely bigger things at hand. Like
what's your objective,
reserves.
Dakota? Right now, you're just an occupying force. Unless you declare a war or have some sort of an authorization, it's time to come home. So, George,
I agree
listen.
on these fronts. I just think that it's important to talk about the ramifications of what we've done and what's going to happen.
I voted against it every chance I've had. I didn't do any of it.
But we live here. This is our government, and that's the role that they've played. They've gone over there. We've done a pretty good job of radicalizing people, especially during Obama's term, whenever we were whacking civilians left and right with drone strikes and bombing weddings.
Purple-haired people in Doc Martens.
Okay, whatever that means. I don't know. I
made my New Balances now. My Doc Martens are in the car.
So I think part of it is, like you have not lived a life where like we weren't over there. And to me, it's just like, just fucking pull out whenever you can. Because you got to pull the Band-Aid.
This is endless. In my view, it's an endless.
So here it says, right? Bush seems to think that we can't leave until the region is stable. I don't know who wrote that, but so, and then there's like this thing about how can it be stable? When are all of them dead?
Jesse's now reading the show notes.
But I'm just, the point.
I wrote the show notes, and that's kind of what I'm thinking. I'm thinking along the same lines of you guys. Like, how is it going to be stable again? And like, is the answer to that, is what George Bush thinking, this is going to be stable if we send more troops over there and literally just kill all of them?
Well, I was getting ready to say there's one of my favorite songs is technically a duet, but it's a battle song from In Flames. And in it said, I think the lyric is, who decides who lost the war? Is it when the first man falls or when we've erased it all? Like, there is no, like, it's it's a lose-lose situation. We can't be involved anymore. Like they have to fix their problems. Now we will probably follow up with some other bullshit and bring some other thing in there.
We'll go to Syria next, right?
Yeah.
It's the United States.
Well, I'm saying we'll do the CIA and whatever is going to do whatever they can to do what they can with elections, to rig their elections, to try to get shit changed, try to get other foreign countries involved.
We just whacked the president of Haiti for this reason. Haiti's sitting on the second largest oil reserves in the entire world right now.
Yeah.
You think the Americans did that?
The guy who whacked him, who's in custody right now, said that this was a CIA operation at the American government. He's been working with the American government.
Well, that's exactly what you would say when you get arrested.
That's what I would say.
A CIA operative would not say that. Actually, no, but the CIA operative would have gotten killed immediately.
The random
guy they hired, he's like, "Whoa, bro! I thought we were good."
Well, that's what I'm saying. They don't hire random people.
No, this random guy is like, "Oh yeah, I was definitely CIA." It's that story doesn't check out.
If you've never sorry, this is actually ties into this a little bit, but because we're getting in a conspiracy theory world, but I
just wanted to talk about fixing iPhones and tractors.
Well, listen, the Middle East is fraught with conspiracy, so it's not like we were never going to be at this conversation.
Correct, but I was saying explicitly the CIA, right? The CIA, in theory, right? The conspiracy is that they are the ones who manufactured this entire problem by supplying firearms and stuff to Bin Laden to help fight against Russia or whoever the hell it was back in the 1980s.
I don't think that's a conspiracy theory. I think that those documents have been released.
Yeah, I don't know, but what I'm getting at though is the CIA. That's why I said the CIA is going to do other things because like that's how they operate. They're not a shadow organization yet. They operate like one, and they're going to do whatever they can.
They're an executive level unchecked operation,
and they will do whatever they can. And there are tons of release documents that prove that this is how they operate. And there's that show on Netflix.
Talking about Jack Ryan on Amazon?
No. This is a documentary. It's something spy something, but it's really good. Netflix spy. Someone's yelling at us right now in the car. It's this, man. But anyway, it kind of talks about like the CIA and probably MI6. Spycraft.
Oh, I was going to say James Bond.
No, Spycraft. But they deal with like high tech surveillance and stuff. And it's super good. And they talk about assassinations. They talk about all kinds of cool stuff and how they did it. Like the CIA has their own like hardware department where they build their own spy crap, and they don't like buy it from organizations. They bring their own engineers.
Is Mike Baker on that show?
I have no idea. But if you haven't watched the show, it's a really short docuseries of like 4 or 5, maybe 6 episodes. And it's really good, kind of like high level explanation of like things that have happened in the past the CIA have done and MI6 have done and kind of how all that stuff works.
So what got me in the mind space where I'm at now is, first of all, I listened to a podcast with a lady named Holly McKay, and I think that you were in a group chat that I dropped that podcast link in and said everyone in here should listen to this.
Been buying pies.
This was a long time ago. This was a long time ago.
It's been a busy week.
Holly McKay wrote a book, and she's a journalist and a photojournalist, and she spent some time in Iraq and Afghanistan just talking with regular civilians. She also got the opportunity to go and talk to prisoners who were members of Al-Qaeda and also members of ISIS, and kind of asked them, like, why did you join? Why do you feel the way that you do? But the main things that hit me the hardest, she's an Australian lady, and she's really good. But anyway, she wrote a book talking about her experiences over there.
I was trying to figure out if she was married to Adam McKay, but she's not.
And basically, like the interviews that she had with especially the women over there are just heartbreaking.
Right.
It's like the most horrific things that you can imagine that these animals do to innocent people over there. And it's like, so at that point, I think of George Bush and where I think that he lies of going, like, literally just kill all of them and then we can leave. the problem is like that. I know that's not going to happen, obviously, but then like there's also that part of me that after reading Only Cry for the Living, where it's like the world would be a better place if they were all just dead.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, that's the thought people had in 2002
or whenever we went in.
Yeah, it was we're going to kill them all. So they can't kill us here.
Well, I was going to say, I remember
that is a very 2001 thought process.
GQE. I was taking the GQE here in Indiana, and I remember like the towers getting hit, and then like maybe a day or two later, all of the hillbillies I'm in school with are like, "We should just nuke them." I'm like, you can't just nuke people.
Turn sand into glass.
Yeah. So this comes to my favorite second line from the same call. So it's from a band called In Flames, and the song's called Dead End. But anyway, the second part of this lyric, one of the other lyrics in the song that are very strong when I listen to it are, what will it take for us to realize that the more we provoke, winter will come twice? And like, I fucking love that. Like, I was like, quit provoking people.
That goes back to what we were just talking about with
that's what I'm saying.
Radicalizing more people.
Right.
It's a hard.
You have an entire new generation, right? The people that you're pissed at that did the stuff then are 50 years old. They are not. It's an entirely new generation.
And and
the people that Russia was fighting are 70 years old now.
One thing that I found interesting from Holly McKay was she was talking about a lot of like the 16, 17, 18-year-old boys that she would talk to that had been arrested and taken in because they got caught like firing an RPG at an American base.
Yeah.
Or things like that. And she's like, why? Why would you join ISIS? Why would you shoot an RPG? And she's like, the majority of them are just like, I didn't really join ISIS. Like, they just offered me money to shoot an RPG.
Right.
And we don't have money. So that's an issue there whenever we're talking about who we're fighting against.
So I think, so to kind of wrap this back into the Africa thing too, I think that, and Africa has like its own problems as far as, I don't want to say problems, but their own like stance and stuff. But I think in order for these things to come back, for these things to go away, you have to, like me being what I like to think like a good-hearted capitalist is like, you need commerce. You need commerce. You need jobs. You need reasons to live, where people don't have to like get, you can't be bothered with
your best option can't be the mercenary.
Yeah. You can't be like, hey kid, you want to shoot an RPG at a U.S. government building for $500? You're like, hell yeah.
No, I got a shift at Amazon warehouse and they're paying me $800.
Yeah. And the chances of you dying, like the risk is, a low risk way of making money would be great. And I say this for Africa too, because there's parts of Africa that are suffering from this, and, it's the atrocities. This is why, if you find like people who really, at least what I think are, they know what they're talking about. Capitalism brings security and lessens violence and brings all the things in so we can all partake in the fruits of each other's labor, and we no longer hate each other anymore. But instead, people,
we hate each other for Salt Life stickers and driving slow in the Zeppelin.
Yeah, we get bored and
we have different.
We start having first world problems, and but it's to get out of like third world problems. I think getting some sort of like commerce going is like commerce, and obviously which requires education. So like people are going to try to invest in getting educated laborers and stuff, and like that is the path out of hell. If you don't do that, you're not going to get out.
One really interesting thing that I find really interesting is listening to people talk about going through that region, like spending time in that region like 30 years ago.
Oh yeah. It used to be a beautiful place. Iraq, man. Like you look at old photos from like 60s and shit.
Going on vacation
to
Iraq. It's a totally that's a weird thing to say in today's world.
It's the crescent of the earth, man. That's where civilization began.
Right. And it's,
you can go to in the 60s, you may have gone to Israel and you may have gone there. Like those are the holy grounds.
Yeah. It's like, I was going to say, that's the other thing is like how much religion's playing a part of a lot of this too. And, those organizations need to stand up and start yeah, just like you have like people want us to like denounce racism and all that other shit. Religions need to do the same thing. Like if people are not living like to like the critical mass of the movement, you need to denounce them from the movement and be like do a really good job of being like, these people are not us, and it's going to create their own rifts. But people need to be responsible. The same thing with the LP, and the people like judged the LP for years because we had alt-right people in our group, and leadership wouldn't say anything about it. They just let it happen. And that was like the shittiest thing that I hated about all the leadership. I'm like, you guys need to address this. And they're like, well, if we bring it up, it's just only going to get stronger. I'm like, no, you need to separate them from your party immediately.
Yeah.
And let them walk themselves out, because they're not going to have anywhere to play here. And I mean, I had small conversations with Nick about it several times.
Nick Sarwark, the former national chairman.
Yeah. And because I was in like an ANCAP group on Facebook, and, these people were in there, like there's a couple guys two people explicitly I really liked in that group. And I would talk to them like in DMs and stuff, and like just be like, yeah, like this is crazy. And like some of them would infiltrate, those two guys would like infiltrate alt-right groups and like kind of follow them through. And like, yeah, the LP is getting ransacked by, or at least like the libertarian movement itself, right, is getting ransacked by alt-right ideology.
I don't know that it's such a problem now, but back
no, it was. Well, they've carved out their own space.
2016 or so.
Well,
it was getting rough.
Yeah, because it was like this weird fallout of all of like these weird Ron Paul people and the Tea Party movement, and they're trying to find a home because they were evicting.
I guess like 2015 would have been the peak.
Yeah, the peak for sure. And because 2012 and stuff was when Tea Party was like doing really well for itself.
2011, 2012, and then by the 2016, Trump came along. And
and he scooped all those people up.
And they
found a home, and that's why Trump has had these conversations about his own party and all this other stuff, because they have their
vehicle.
Yeah, and their leader, which is hilarious that these people, well, I don't need no leader, but yet they will the dick of Trump every damn chance they get, which is hilarious.
So Afghanistan. Dakota, are you saying that you want status quo and not to withdraw? Is that what we're talking about here?
No,
or you just want to read it into the record so that in case it goes badly.
It's important to have a conversation of saying, yes, we need to be leaving, but I think that we have a responsibility to assist the government there and going like, we know we caused some of this issue. We will help you create, trade relations, business relations, whatever needs to happen, and kind of do it that way.
Well, I think
we need to have the understanding that there's going to be a lot of people.
I was going to say, I think they need to make if they're trying to make it like it's going to be like rainbows and unicorns. No, be honest. Like this isn't going to be easy. And I think that was the big thing, right? This is the same thing with libertarianism and stuff too, right? With the extremist libertarians, it's like, oh, we're just going to turn all the switches off at once. No, you're not. You're going to enter chaos, and I don't want to live in chaos. Like you have to strategically pull these things apart.
Right.
So it's the same problem, exact same problem. Is your phone broke?
No, I'm just trying to do something.
That was a segue. That was a really good segue.
It is. You're doing fine.
But it's a good thing that this has happened. Like, it's a good thing that it's going to happen under Biden's watch.
What does that mean?
Dakota doesn't want the blood on his hands as a libertarian.
I'm saying that with Biden, because what would have been gross if it had happened under Trump, if Trump got reelected and it was happening back in May.
That wasn't even on the show notes, but he just like won what was the thing? Trump for 2024?
The CPAC straw poll.
CPAC straw poll,
he won like 75%.
Overwhelmingly.
Yeah, it's so damn early.
He still got 20%. He got 20% in the poll that said if anyone other than Donald Trump, and 21% of people clicked other Donald Trump.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. But
so
anyway,
it's still
I think it would have been, I don't know if, I think I chose the wrong words. It's not good that it's happening under Biden. I'm just saying, like, if it happened under Trump, then we would have been bombarded with nothing.
You would have been bombarded with what you're bringing up.
Yes, with every single rape, murder, atrocity that Al Qaeda committed in Afghanistan.
This way, you don't have to think about it because your conscience is clean.
Yes.
Biden, we're not going to see any of that.
Correct. Yeah.
So saying it was good was a bad choice of wording. What I'm saying
is they'll even write about it. They'll write about it, but it will never make headline news. That way they can say, we wrote about it. Yeah. But they'll funnel it. They'll probably like hide it from. They'll hide it from Google. It'll never make the news.
Yeah, they'll be like, Barry Weiss, the journalist that you all hate. Yeah, she wrote about it.
Yeah.
Barry Weiss is a great journalist, by the way. Just most lefties hate her because of her stance on Israel. She got canceled on Twitter.
So the other big topic I wanted to work on tonight, and I think it's very much a Boss Hog Liberty topic.
It
deals with tractors,
especially the last portion.
With executive orders. It deals with technology, and it deals with your fundamental rights.
And Xboxes.
Yep. On Friday, Joe Biden signed an executive order that directs the Federal Trade Commission to create directives that would basically forbid any manufacturer from placing some kind of barrier or written policy that would keep you, the consumer, from fixing your own electronic equipment. So, like, what that means is, like, if you have an Apple iPhone right now, you can only go and get it repaired at the Apple store. Otherwise, avoids your warranty.
Yeah, so that's the issue. You have the right now because of is it the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, Jesse, from 2015, that says that you can work on your own stuff.
So,
but what happens is that the manufacturer can say, "Well, you voided your warranty."
I was going to say, does this actually get rid of the warranty?
This will say that you can't. You're allowed to work on your own stuff, and they can't hold you saying that you've ruined your warranty.
The stuff I read did not say that, so that's why I'm not saying it's wrong or right. I was just like, I didn't read that.
This is kind of in that article,
and I want to add some clarity to this. I read some different stuff. So there's two things going on. First off, right, is that the right to repair and movement has been around strongly for the last couple of years.
Yeah. A couple of weeks ago, there was a big statement video that came out from Steve Wozniak.
Yeah, apparently.
Who's the Apple guy, helped found Apple with Steve Jobs in the 80s, but he's been out of the company since that time.
Yeah, and so for a little backstory on that, old IT guys are extremists, and they want everything to be essentially free. And, whatever, like I have my own thoughts about that, but it's not surprising that you'll see a lot of like older, IT people and programmers and stuff, hardware guys. And Wozniak was a huge hardware guy, but,
what he says is that in his era, everything was open source. They could look at how every chip, not the chip, but how every computer, how every device is made, and they could engineer whatever they wanted to out of it.
Yeah. So I was there's two, like I was trying to I want to separate a couple things because there's two things kind of going on, and one that I think I can agree with. The second, I don't know if I agree with it. The first, which I think is what Biden has talked to, is just for people outside of the actual manufacturers to get access to the tools, parts, and manuals to repair their products. That is kind of like the overarching thing I feel like that Biden has talked about.
So the decision is does the original manufacturer own all of the intellectual property into what goes into this computer? Or is it I own the computer, so I have the right to know how it's built so that I can make my changes to it?
Yeah, that's kind of like the first
like
layer.
The overall question.
Yeah, right. but there's a second. So what I'm trying to say is in the movement, there are two parts. The second, which I don't agree with, arguably, or at least I think is forcing the tech companies to design and build products that are easier to fix. I don't like that.
Is that in the executive order?
No, that's why I'm trying to clarify the difference between the executive order and the movement.
Okay.
So the movement, there's two things from the movement. The first one is the thing that kind of got put into the executive order, which was access to tools, parts, manuals, and repair products. The other thing is like your dad, or at least my dad was old school, but was like, oh, the things are just, they can't even repair them anymore. And you're like,
they're engineered too much and you can't do anything about it.
Everything he was saying that in 1996, and people are talking about how awesome 96 was. So I think there's some relativeness to it, but
yeah.
But I don't know about forcing tech companies to design and build products that are easier to fix. If they start talking about that, I'm going to have a big problem with this.
That sounds like an issue that would just blockade all kinds of progress in the tech industry.
I have some pros and cons. If I can read through the list and you guys want to choose and pick through them, that's fine. But I want to get to each one real fast.
So just read through your list uninterrupted.
Thank you. Pros. of this, right? We can reopen competition in the repair markets. We have the potential to create more higher wage jobs in local markets. It's creating more hackers, kind of what Wozniak's talking about, who could bring upgrades to actual existing devices. The lower middle class are likely to be able to obtain and maintain higher end tools. So what I mean, so what I mean by that is like, people would be more apt if they could repair their phones to buy more expensive phones. If most people don't, because they break and whatnot, and they can't afford to replace them like at $1,000 a pop. Generating less e-waste, right? I'm hoping that maybe we would revisit modular designs so that more parts are interchangeable.
So I don't need an entire new phone. I can just swap out. My speaker doesn't work. I can just change my speaker out.
Yeah, and there was a couple of years ago, there was this concept of a modular phone that people thought where it was like this, you could buy different parts for your phone and upgrade the RAM and all kinds of stuff. So
kind of things we did with computers 15 years ago.
Well, you still can do it with desktops, right? US may get back into the hardware manufacturing. Maybe that's a possibility. And then shorter turnarounds, like obviously on getting your phones fixed versus like having to send it off. But some of the cons that I have, the lack of authority and certification process creates a trust barrier, and creates a petri dish for subpar repairs. Like now I no longer know where to go to get a good repair.
Well, but you can choose to use Apple if you wanted to.
No, you can.
Right? By creating opportunity, Apple can differentiate itself and say, look, you get a trusted factory repair, but it's going to be $280 from me. Or you can use Dakota's garage repair, and he says he'll do it for $82.
Right. No, that's the competition part. I'm just saying without having what I'm trying to get at is it would be nice if there was some sort of certification you could qualify for to say that I am certified to repair these.
The market
things.
very well could create that.
Yeah. So
it's kind of like the
ASE certified mechanics for cars.
So the thing is the FTC. So I'm trying to get through this so we can talk to all of this, but and why some of this is a con for now. And why it's a con and things that the FTC should think about. So I think it's going to be a hit to the research and development budgets, obviously, because the margins are going to go down, right? They're not going to, I shouldn't say the margins are going to go down. The budgets will decrease because they're not selling as many phones because they just don't have to. People don't have to buy them. Innovations may slow down because companies can make things easy if they have to make things easier to fix. You're going to make a lot of engineering decisions that you would not make if you have to make it easy to repair.
Once again, that's not in the executive order.
Right. It requires not only force, but an executive order, which is always a con in my book. Initial cost increase, preventing cheaper versions. So, I think, potentially we're going to see phones or like devices and shit get more expensive because they're going to try to make up the money they would have made on warranties or on repairs at other buys on the front end now. And I think that, from a business perspective, I would quit creating cheaper versions of phones. I'd be like, yep, now you have to pay $1,200 for a phone. So I get all my money up front. Backup hygiene is going to remain an afterthought because we were getting to a part where people understood they need to make backups because you're not going to have access to your stuff. And if you can repair it all the time, people are like, oh, I can just get it fixed and I can get my stuff back.
I mean, it's mostly cloud-based now anyway, right? If you lose your phone, what do you lose?
Yeah. And so the other thing that I think is something of concern, security is going to becomes extremely weakened, at least at first or initially, because until the new versions of hardware hit the market, this is especially true for like Internet of Things, who are already plagued with terrible, terrible, terrible security problems. And if all of this information is released into the public,
Internet of Things, you mean like the refrigerator that's connected to Wi-Fi?
Yeah, everything that connects to the internet that is not like your standard computer,
your light bulb, your printer,
things that don't get updates, right? Or they don't get updated very often, or people don't even know. The other thing is like if you release this information, right, people are going, like hackers, right, are going to have like a buffet.
They're going to have a map.
Yes. And they have a map where every treasure, where every weakness is in every system, to exploit. And some of these things cannot easily be patched, because, either people won't do it. People don't know to do it. They may or may not be built. Like sometimes upgrading firmware on like some of your devices requires you to plug them in. It's not like they're attached to the Wi-Fi, I should say they're attached to the Wi-Fi, but it's not like they're attached to, the internet to get updates. Sometimes you have
there
to
are some things you have to
updates.
flash.
Yeah.
Right.
So anyway, those are my thoughts. I want to kind of think about, some of them are going to be the same. So if you guys have similar thoughts, obviously we could pedal off those.
I wasn't told we were preparing pro and con lists.
I think it sounds pretty good. One of the big things that I thought about was competition in the market.
Yeah.
So like we have like the U-Break iFix stores now. Those places, that's like the only place you can go if you have a Google Pixel, Jeremiah, and have that replaced and not void your Google warranty. But now you'll be able to go, Geek Squad at Best Buy, who knows?
This is not just cell phones. I think that's important for us to talk about, is that cell phones are something we're talking about. But one of the other big issues has been in the agriculture community, which we come from. And John Deere has been a leader of only John Deere certified folks can come work on your John Deere tractor, because it's just like your car with a computer in it where you have to plug in and you have to access a module so that you can make any changes. If a piece of equipment breaks, only their people can come and fix it.
I dropped a link for the Patreon members in the show notes during this section. And it's actually a video that I watched. I watched this video probably like 2 months ago. I watched a lot of Vice videos at lunchtime because I love those Vice.
They're an investigative documentary.
They're like the 20-minute documentary things.
Yep.
They're great. They do a really good job on most of their stuff. And the headline of the video is something like, these farmers are having to hack their computers because they can't fix them.
Yeah. Is it similar to like how like all the guys with diesels out here hacking their like computers to like make richer fuel delivery systems?
They're using tuners to do what they want, but these guys are literally down, and you're told, okay, well, you have to wait on a John Deere tech to come out, and if the tech can't come to you, then you need to load your tractor up, send it in, and they've got stuff to do. So they have to. It's a production piece of equipment that has to be up and running.
Pay someone to haul your tractor.
I'm surprised that this didn't. So like when I was reading, apparently, and I didn't know this, but or at least remember it, but like the Motor Vehicle Owners Right to Repair Act was passed in 2014. And so new car manufacturers now have to make the same service information and tools available to independent repair shops.
As they do to dealers.
As they do the franchise dealers. Yeah. So I'm surprised. Obviously
equipment is different than an automobile.
Yeah. They're not motor vehicles apparently, right?
Yeah.
There's some farm equipment and it's kind of like John Deere got like they didn't have to worry about it. And they've probably been like amping up their game to break in every dollar they can until this happened.
I'm sure.
The Vice video that Dakota sent was specific to Nebraska. There was a state legislator who tried to say, if you own a device, if there's a device a product sold in Nebraska, you have to have the right to repair. And that turned out lobbyists coming in from Microsoft, from Apple, from AT&T coming in and saying, whoa. People aren't going to sell our product in your state anymore if you do this. We're going to leave Nebraska.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just,
the internet exists. We're still order things.
I don't know. Like I'm a big open source advocate. So I'm also like, I don't know. Like, obviously, yeah. Like, I don't know why these people are buying John Deere's. That's part of my problem. I'm like, why are you buying John Deere's if they have this shitty, like, experience for you? And some people, there's a guy I watch on YouTube who does hardware repairs. And I just like, he's awesome. Like he has like all the camera set up so you can like watch it and he talks through the repairs. I'm not sure of his name. I don't watch him that often. I've watched like 4 videos, but like, I
love those types of videos.
Yeah. Like he owns like a repair shop or whatever. And like, he is like super nerdy about it. And he has a couple videos on this actually, but, where was I going with this? Like circuitry and stuff. The bigger problem, right? And I don't know enough about the tractor stuff, right? Like the voiding of the warranty. If I owned a product, I'm either not going to offer warranties anymore, or it's like you're going to get one or the other, right?
Well, you've got options, right? There are a number of different ways companies can handle it. A manufacturer can say, listen, you can automatically buy a manufacturer warranty and our support comes with it. You can say you're on your own. You can pay for our support if you want to, or you can be in the Wild West.
When did the whole factory pre-owned stuff become a thing? Was that in 2014?
No, I think certified, like buying a certified Toyota
pre-owned?
has been around for a while.
Okay.
I think that's just a branding of, it's a relatively new vehicle and the dealerships looked over it, et cetera, et cetera.
Right. Well, I just thought maybe since like they couldn't do the other thing since 2014, they've like fabricated this new product.
That would make sense.
To be like, look, you certified pre-owned, because to get certified pre-owned, you have to do stuff still at the dealer, I think, to maintain that thing. It doesn't mean that they won't. It's to maintain that branding, but like the manufacturer warranties, obviously the default ones, always. What's the word I'm looking for here?
There was an interesting guy in the
approved or whatever
John Deere video where he was like, he was your stereotypical middle-aged farmer, and he's like trying to learn code.
It's hilarious. It's awesome.
And he's like, now I gotta plug this computer into a tractor to try to figure it out. And I'm like, this is amazing. This is the future.
Well,
and
it is. And I mean, continue. I don't want to interrupt right now.
It's just what you were going to. That, like, I know Elon Musk has said it. He's been talking about open source software quite a bit. He's brought it like to the forefront in the mainstream, to where before, like, only people in the tech industry really like talked about it very much. You're not going to know that it wasn't mainstream because you've been in this area for your entire life. But Elon like really brought it to the forefront mainstream, started talking about open source software. What does that mean? And how, like, what does it mean for it to be available to everyone?
Right.
And I think that this is a really big step in that direction.
If you work on a car, and the easiest thing a lot of folks can go back to is understanding that if you bought a car, you bought a Chevrolet, you can go down to the auto parts store and you can buy what they call a Chilton's manual. Chilton's the name of the company, and then make a repair manual that says, here are all of the parts of the car, and here's how you fix it. Yeah. So the guy at home can work on his truck, and he knows, the Mark Brims of the world can know that if I'm going to take the head gaskets off, I'm going to do a head gasket change, I know the torque spec of the bolts when I put them back on the vehicle.
Yeah, you know what.
So you have a map. Once again, it's
I used to use one of those all the time for my Dodge Neon because I used to do a lot of repairs on it. But so first off, I will say, like, Elon's not out of, like, he's not getting off this, like, was it scot-free or whatever, but like Tesla is under fire for some of this because the way that Tesla operates is like all the Tesla is kind of the same. Not, I'm going to say all of them, but like you can get different models, right? And one has longer range than the other. And sometimes that is not like an actual hardware problem. It's a software coded thing.
Issue. Yeah.
And that's why when there was a hurricane, they sent out patches to get people to have longer range on their cars because you have to pay for them to unlock that gate in the software. And I don't have a problem with that. A lot of software people do, but I'm like, look, and they're like, well, it shouldn't be like that. I'm like,
it's a product.
It's like, it's a product. Like, it's hidden behind a wall. You have to pay for it. It's a paywall. It's literally a paywall. If you want it,
it's just like the full self-driving feature.
That's where you need to know going into it. And there may not be enough buyer information. When you go in and buy the vehicle, you need to know, hey, this vehicle has these features enabled. If you want these other things, we can turn them on, but they cost more money.
Right.
That's but it's done in software, right? That's the trick of it, because you didn't then theoretically say 3 years later, okay, now everybody gets it.
Well, so what's funny though is that people have a problem with it because it's done in software. It's the exact same problem where people for the longest time never like.
I don't want to pay for Word. You can give me a copy of it, right?
Yeah, exactly. People want to steal shit. They think software should be free, and to some degree, it should be. But there are things that are like proprietary
code. I bought a damn computer. Why do I have to pay to have this other stuff to work on it?
Yeah, and like people hate paying for these intangible things. Like they hate. Like I used to be the same way. Like I'm with Pirate Software or whatever back in the day when I was 12 or whatever, and like I sometimes to this day, like I'm not paying $3 for that app. Like, even though the app is going to help me and I spend stupid amounts of money on everything else in the world, I'm like, $3 on
It's a matter of whether or not you actually know it's going to bring you value.
It's a psychology problem.
If it's something you're going to use every day and it's a productive tool, then yeah, I'll pay for it.
Right.
But if I need it one time, then give me the trial. Let me decide if I actually need it or not.
Right. And
because if you nickel and dime me for $25 for a piece of software or $300 for something, and I needed it once or didn't need it at all,
that's a huge problem in the gaming community right now. Pay to win games.
And I do think I should say I'm mostly on the side of right to repair. I think there are things that need to be ironed out. When it comes to the movement. Right. When it comes to the movement, I think it's a good thing. I think companies should be like, we're a right to repair hardware manufacturer. And I would be cool with that. And whatever, like it's a badge of honor or whatever. But, my big thing though, is that I would like to see it because we need more people in hardware, building more hardware. We need that. We don't want to lose that skill set. And if everything's behind a trap door and you have to have a 4-year degree or whatever to get your hands on it, or go through some sort of special training course that is provided by the manufacturers, everything's kind of locked under key, and your access to this education becomes, it's kind of locked away through government means, which is ridiculous. If it's financial means, I don't really care. But if it's forced government rules or whatever, that's a problem. More or less, people are afraid to open up their devices because they're going to lose warranties. Again, I kind of understand why that's a problem.
Did you guys watch the Johnny Harris video on the McDonald's ice cream machine repair, where he kept digging in, figuring out that all of the franchisees can only use a certain vendor for their ice cream machine, and they're not allowed to work on it themselves. And there's somebody that figured out how to sideload software that would actually let them actually diagnose it and fix it themselves instead of having to call the proprietary company service contracted folks.
Right. I've not seen this. It sounds interesting.
It's about a 25-minute video. It's excellent. It's really, really well worth your time to watch it. But it's the exact same conversation.
Right.
Say you own a McDonald's franchise and you want to have ice cream. This is why the ice cream machines are always broken. You own the ice cream machine. You have to buy it from this one vendor, and the machine has no user interface that you can actually do anything with yourself. If it's down or broken, you can hit the reset cycle. If it doesn't work, you have to call the guy. You have to call the service company, who is the only service company that's authorized.
Right.
And they have to come out, and then they plug in, and then they fix it. And that's why the ice cream machine is broken all the time, because they have to contact an outside third-party system, and they have no choice. Somebody else developed their own little sideload deal and said, hey, just do this, and your people can fix it yourselves.
Yeah.
And McDonald's absolutely threw a fit.
I bet. Yeah.
Because they broke the business model.
Yeah, they broke the business model. Do they own, do they have stake in this other company?
Yes.
Almost guaranteed.
So it's, I mean, again, it's a double-edged sword. If you just give people who are not good with these things the power, right? With great power comes great responsibility.
This is where competition matters.
Right.
And this may not be the most pure liberty side of the conversation, but what I learned in business school is that at some point government does also break up monopolies, because when you don't have options in the market, things don't work. And that's how the Bell companies got broken up.
I'm glad you brought that up, though, because the only reason they have monopolies is because of the fucking patents. That is why they have, and that's it. Because I was like, why is this? One of my questions was I had written down, but I deleted it. Was why is this a problem to begin with? Right? Why is this a problem? And to me, it's patents.
Patents continue to
and copyright law, and trademark.
They continue to get extended.
Right.
Right. There, at one time in this country, you had 20 years. That was it.
Right.
Now they are going on almost infinitely because Walt Disney Company doesn't want to let Mickey Mouse go out into the world. So they keep extending it. So, and that is keeping everything else locked up as property that belongs to one group.
Yeah. And I'm just saying, what I'm saying though is
Jesse, the chat room is reminding us that you've almost rolled off the screen. You've slid back so far.
Oh my gosh. I was getting comfortable.
You're getting
folks.
very distant.
But anyway, well, I was getting comfortable. These chairs, I don't know if they know this, but I don't know where your guys' money is, but it's not in the chairs.
These were, we purchased these very early on.
So,
we acquired them very early on.
So to me, it comes back down to intellectual property. And I feel like IP, it's like I'm being hypocritical, but IP to me is only exists if you leave it in your brain and you never share it. That's the only way you have intellectual property. You'd be like, I created this thing in my brain. I never told anyone. Or maybe you've encrypted it and it's stored somewhere, but no one can ever get it. Then, now you have IP.
I will say
outside of that,
a moment ago that I thought it may not be the most liberty position to say that government can break up monopolies. But the most fundamental part of libertarianism to me is that government is there to protect against force and fraud. Right? That's the legitimate role. And if you are at the point where you're forcing somebody to only use one vendor, and then you've got their entire livelihood forced into, you have to use this one company.
Yeah, but there's contracts in place.
Yeah,
it's not but you've agreed to it. It's voluntary transactions.
Sure,
this is why it's a problem.
But you can't go somewhere else. If you're running,
you can't. It's in the contract. You can't go anywhere else. You signed it voluntarily.
But they can also modify the terms, right? So if you are a McDonald's franchisee or anybody
then that
else,
becomes a court problem. But
that's what happens is you don't have options in your.
Everybody knows the ice cream machines at McDonald's sucks. If you bought a contract and you're pissed the machines are breaking, where have you been?
But if you've been a franchisee, this is a good example. If you've been a franchisee since 1990,
right,
and then they came in and they said, okay, we're going to change from this other ice cream machine that was stable and we used it all the time to hey, we got a new vendor and this is how you have to use now. And within the next 3 years, you have to replace your machine with this one, or you can't have your McDonald's franchise anymore, right? Yeah. So then they've selected the only vendor, and then they say the only person that you can repair with is this one company. That's where you start to go down this path of, well, I'm being forced into this. I don't have any option.
I don't agree with this argument.
I see it for sure.
I can see how you're getting there. I just don't agree with it because you have contracts. You can break your contract, let go.
Sure, and I can give
You're not forced. You could get out of it.
Yes, and then I will no longer have the one of this thing.
You will no longer own a machine that gives you headaches.
No, I will no longer have a McDonald's, right?
No, I know. That's what I'm saying.
I will no longer
go work for Taco Bell. They don't have ice cream machines breaking down.
Yeah, but somebody already owns that franchise in town.
Sucks to be you. Like, again, you're entering a contract, right? It's not force if there's a contract. Like, especially a legitimate contract that you have signed and it's been read by everybody's attorneys and it's sitting somewhere. That's not force. You've signed it
40 years ago.
It's not.
Things get updated since then.
Yeah. Then is the money coming in? The only people.
Wait, okay. All right.
Here's the problem.
Do it this way. Grandpa bought a McDonald's franchise in 1967, and it was passed down to your mom, and now you've got it.
Yeah, I no longer own a McDonald's.
So now you've got the franchise Grandpa bought and signed the paperwork on. You're still like, well, Grandpa, you screwed up. Man, now we're screwed by this digital copyright thing, and I can't.
Jesse,
we can only call it one company.
What you're saying is, I think that what you're fighting about is the McDonald's corporate having control, and you saying like, well, I signed the contract, therefore, like, are you saying like you can't complain about it because you signed it?
I think that one lonely franchisee has no, like, you can complain all you want. You're not going to make any ruffles and any feathers at corporate McDonald's. You're going to have to do a whole entire thing.
I'm starting to think Jesse would have run a real good West Virginia coal mine town back in the day.
You would
listen. You work for this company. You know that the only place you're allowed to buy flour is at Steel Mill Grocery.
He said earlier that he was in an ANCAP Facebook.
So you can't. What I'm saying though is that in order for them to change it, I have two problems in my brain. One is, why don't all the franchisees? Well, I'm at right now for this subject. One is, why are the franchisees not forming some sort of thing to, like, hey, Mr. McDonald's, I need a machine that doesn't break down all the time. My customers are pissed. Also, why does McDonald's want the notoriety of having broken ice cream machines?
Because they're getting money from the vendor. They've got their contract relationship.
We established that McDonald's has stake in this.
Well, but how? Like, how's the money they're making out of the vendor more than they're making off the margin of the ice cream? Like, that doesn't make any sense. The ice cream has to be cheaper than shit. The hardware is very expensive. The bring people out and fix it, very expensive. I don't understand that game.
Go watch the Johnny Harris video. I know. We don't need to get into that part.
I feel like we're in another conspiracy.
We're talking about any corporation in the world. There's giant conspiracies like this everywhere with incredible things that don't make sense, that look like extreme monetary waste.
I feel like we just need to bring up the conspiracy podcast you used to have.
Yeah. Tinfoil time with Dakota and Audrey.
We'll just go through every single corporation in like the Fortune 125
There you go. Perfect.
And then,
so anyways, John Deere's. Good work on them. Ice cream shops.
I think we've listen. I think we've done fine. I think we've whet the appetite. If folks want to learn more, we're going to watch this, see how things go along. We're going to check at the producer's desk and see if they have anything over there that they want to cover in final thoughts. Producer's desk, anything? It's empty. Jesse, what did we miss? Do you want to? Have you apologized enough for this pie?
I apologized at least 3 times.
Okay,
and I'm not one to apologize that often.
Earlier, you said you weren't sorry at all.
He wasn't sorry at all, and he blamed me for stacking.
I never blamed you. I just understand how everything came to be.
Jeremiah, look at this now, though. Like on the silver lining of the cloud here is that it's like a lot more fun to eat this way because
it doesn't matter at this point.
You can just take a fork and dig in. There's no rules now.
It's
all the rules have been
pie.
broken.
It's an ANCAP pie. It's already been on the floor. What's the worst thing that could happen?
Yeah,
it's
they
given
don't clean
Dakota
around here for those.
It's given Dakota. We clean all the time. It just dirties instantaneously.
Just brick walls. There's not no ceiling or anything.
Listen, you can't tell where the brick dust begins and the crust ends. I will say that I had a small sliver.
Yeah,
and you didn't eat any.
Correct.
And Dakota,
like half yours.
And Dakota has eaten half the pie.
It looks really rich.
It's delicious.
Is it rich?
Take a bite.
No,
rich. Just take one little bite.
I'm full.
Right out
I
of the
don't
middle
really
of it.
like pie.
It's peanut butter.
How do you not like pie?
I'm just not a pie guy.
What a freak.
Jesse, what else is going on, man?
I don't have anything else going on.
What happened to Mama Roo? It's over. I'm never going to get to go back.
I think she's still open for another week.
Maybe next week.
I think the 24th, 26th, something like that. I have been there twice since she's made that video, though.
So it's over. This landmark Eastside Indianapolis Cajun place is over.
That is what she says.
Yeah, it's shut them down.
Do you believe that it's over? Or do you think it'll come back?
No, I think it's over for at least now. Until she gets tired of working for somebody else.
Is she retiring or something?
No. She just...
business is hard.
Yeah, business is hard. And, the way people want to operate their businesses, that's hard too. So if you want to, again, I'm not saying she has the way she wants to run her business, and I think it makes it very difficult. I'm not eating it. It was on the floor.
Just put it in your mouth.
2, I don't really like pie. My favorite pie is like sugar cream.
I love sugar.
Well, I shouldn't say it's my favorite, but it's.
I bid on a sugar cream pie as well, but I lost.
Yeah, well, you should have. If you won that, I would have made sure I would have protected that thing. And I don't know why I like them. They don't really taste that good. They're super sugary.
It's just sugar, man. It's just sugar and cream.
So good. But anyway, yeah.
If you're listening from out of state, the sugar cream pie is the state pie of India,
and it's literally
and
just
listen,
sugar.
We know our state pie.
Yeah,
it's from Winchester, Indiana.
But yeah, so
Wix.
That is we went up there together, didn't we?
You and the other Jeremiah went up there together.
I know, but I thought we went up there.
I don't think so.
We never went up there to buy silver. We should do the most libertarian thing you can do on the east side of Indiana is drive to Winchester and buy silver.
You want to go up near there and go watch a Sammy Kershaw concert?
Don't want to do any of that. Just want to go buy some silver. I'll probably sell it. It's like $26 an ounce right
now.
Silver.
Oh, like
Silvertown. So, okay.
Like
we'll rent some mules. We'll go to the highest point in Indiana. You and me with our Sherpas.
We don't need mules.
And then we'll ride them into Silvertown.
Perfect. It's not too far from there.
Right. It's on the way. Would be fools not to go.
I mean, it's kind of a long way, but it is on the way if you go the long way.
Anything else we need to know? Where can people find your work? Where can they catch
my work?
Yeah. What do you
downtown
promote?
Indianapolis?
No, like your stickers. And
your stickers, your stuff.
Just
your
Google
assholes with Mark and Jesse or whatever your show's called.
I think we've got a new name.
Elbows.
Every time I go on the show, it's a new name.
But no,
this show that
release.
has never started yet.
Well, it started. We just never released it. So, just go to Etsy or not Etsy. Go to Google and type BITMVR. Bitmover. There's no vowels in the mover part. And if you see Etsy Bitmover, you'll probably see all my stuff there. So if you want to buy something, go for it. Christy's, dumped a bunch of money on me. She made it rain. But anyway, that's what I got going on. Also, there's just random crap on Amazon. So I don't know. There's like a link tree. I just forget what mine is all of a sudden. So
okay. Add Jesse on Facebook, and he'll add you.
Please do not add me on Facebook.
Definitely add Jesse on Facebook.
Add me on Twitter or Instagram. I am not trying to be on Facebook.
Dakota.
I just wanted to say,
I feel like you owe me like $30 for the pie.
It's funny. I don't owe you anything, apparently.
Dakota's just been all over it. I'm loving it.
I'm going to bring a peanut butter pie.
He's going to work so hard in the gym tomorrow morning.
You understand, peanut butter pie is like my favorite pie.
What's
I freaking just love
What is
all
peanut butter
pies.
made pie? Is it just peanut butter and what?
And
Peanut butter
sugar.
and whipped sugar and cream. It's it's literally a sugar cream pie
With peanut butter
in it.
Yeah.
It's so good. Not baked as long.
I'm surprised people don't put jelly on it or something. That would probably be good.
That would be.
Sometimes you'd find some
you
chocolate
are
in it.
on to something.
You might find some chocolate sprinkles on it.
I just like
Versus chocolate
straight.
sauce.
No. This kid did it perfect, where it's just straight up creamy.
It's just creamy peanut butter.
What if you did, though, like you serve it upside down, so you have the crust on the top, and then you put a little bit of jam on top?
See, I think that would be
think
good.
that'd be
Yeah.
good. Especially
you're
like
onto
blackberry
something with that.
jam. Love blackberry jam.
Food talk with Jesse and Dakota.
I'm a fat kid.
I thought about earlier. I was like, I'm thinking about what to put in the show notes, and I'm like, we only have the thing about the right to repair. Got to come up with something else. I put in the other group chat earlier about the George Bush Afghanistan thing. So I hadn't really thought that much about it, but then I'm like, oh wait, Chris is going to be there tonight. It'll be good for Chris to be involved with this conversation we have on Afghanistan.
Yeah. But he got sick.
Yeah, I think Chris didn't show up. And then I put it in our group chat planning for this show, trying to start a conversation to gauge where Chris is at. And then he just sends me another message. He's like, I'm not going to be there tonight.
Sniffles.
I'm looking right in the camera right now.
Zach Bertram is in the chat. All the weird stuff you people bring in, making me eat, and you bring in a peanut butter pie, one of my favorites, when I'm not here. That'll teach you to
freaking so
that'll teach you to spend a week in North Carolina.
Woo! That's hilarious. Oh, by the way, Mr. Bertram, I was going to tell you tonight, I know Scott, one of your old coworkers.
Okay.
That's it.
Great. This is excellent radio. Everybody's really excited. We don't know who the hell Scott is.
I can't say
He's
names.
probably not going to know Scott.
He might.
That's so funny.
They work at the same place.
The Clueless Farmer has released his most recent YouTube video.
We're in
That's
it.
Our friend Mark Brim. We were in that
It's
YouTube
his
video.
I need a new motor video.
So make sure you go check that out. I've been trying to keep up with Mark.
Is he doing the van thing where they go vanning everywhere?
No, he's becoming a farmer.
I love that Jesse listens to the show when he's not on it. He's really a dedicated listener.
Hey, I'm out searching for good content.
He's just constantly
What'd you bring me
grinding.
this week?
I had a whole pro and con list.
He did. He had a whole
list?
subset of notes on
He had a
this
pro
one.
and con list, and he dropped my damn pie.
Brought you beer.
He created good content.
I'm about ready to go on the concert circuit with Mason Rottinghouse.
That sounds interesting.
A year ago, I got my tickets to see Joe Diffie
He died.
and
R.I.P.
Tracy Lawrence. And since I bought my Joe Diffie tickets, it's turned into a Sammy Kershaw and Tracy Lawrence concert because Joe Diffie died from the Rona.
Oh yeah,
So-
he did die from Rona.
So it got rescheduled, and it's going to be tomorrow night. Finally,
It really was from
yeah,
the Cove.
yeah. He was an early.
Yeah, he was one of the.
He was one of the early COVID deaths.
Oh,
So
wow.
I'm finally going to see it. It was supposed to be on my birthday last year. I've been waiting an entire year for Mason and I to go to this. We're going to be in the pit like a bunch of idiots, and I'm going to know. I'm going to know all the song lyrics. I'm going to make an enormous fool of myself at the Jay County Fair. So look for me to make a fool of myself. Mason Rottinghouse will then get on a plane, and he's going to fly to Utah, and he's going to go watch Garth Brooks perform on Saturday night
In Utah?
in Utah.
Good God.
And
Are
then
you
he's-
going to Utah?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm going to be at the very exclusive event that Chris Spangle is hosting.
Oh, okay.
So Mason's going to be going to Utah, coming home on Sunday, and then the following weekend, I guess 2 weeks after, I will be going to Nashville, Tennessee with Sarah and Mason,
To see Garth Brooks.
and we're going to see Garth Brooks.
Okay, I thought you were going to go see Garth Brooks. I was like, wait, you're going to Utah?
Yeah, And then in September, once again, another COVID reschedule. I'll see Garth Brooks again in September. That was supposed to be last year.
I'm going to go see Megadeth.
When's that?
September.
Is it at Deer Creek Verizon Wireless Clips Music Center by Rural Phone Mortgage?
Yep. Them, and hopefully, I only really want to go to see maybe Megadeth and In Flames. But yeah.
They did not have their shit straight this time.
Who?
The venue.
Oh, I've never been.
It's all digital ticketing now.
Yeah.
So you have to show
I
your
wanted
phone.
to buy VIP tickets, but
they may have it figured out by the third or fourth concert, but the first one back, they were way out of practice and they were all digital.
well, everywhere just has really bad labor, people.
It was a struggle.
Have you ever tried to order a cheeseburger or taco anywhere?
I normally try to have Sarah do that for me.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah.
I've thrown a bag. Have I told you guys this story?
No. I yield my final thoughts to you. Tell me about your rage, Jesse.
I was really mad one night, and everybody is going to be mad at me, and I'm mad at myself, but it's still funny at the same time. So I had went into Taco Bell after leaving a drinking establishment and was like, hey, just, sun's still out. And I'm like, pull up. And this is like the third time this has happened.
How long ago was this?
A couple weeks ago.
Okay.
Maybe a month ago. So I pull up into it and he's like, hey, we're closed. I was like, what is your name? He's like, what do you mean?
What's your
name?
badge number?
I was like, every time I come to this damn drive-thru, you're closed. I don't understand. What's your name? And he's like, it's, I wrote it down, but he's like, this is like me being
Sir,
like,
don't you know I'm on a moderately popular podcast in East Central Indiana? I will dox you.
So he gave me his name or whatever.
Scott?
No, I'm just going to write and be like, what is up with your restaurant always being closed? This is the guy who told me it was closed every time I go in there. And he's out there smoking cigarettes. So I just think they're short staffed and they want a break and they get their break. I'm like, I'm not mad at him. I'm just like, I need to know someone. I'll be like, I talk to somebody. It's probably not even his real name. It doesn't sound real. But anyway, so I'm like, whatever. I leave.
My name's Marlboro. Leave me alone.
And I'm like, well, the only other place I'm going to stop at is Jack in the Box. Terrible establishment, but they have really cheap tacos.
But it's at Post Road and 70.
Yeah. So it's right off the interstate. I can hop in and hop out. So I pull in there and I'm like, look, I want 3 orders of your 2 tacos. And they're like, so you want 6 tacos? I'm like, that's how multiplication works. And without lettuce and and some sauce,
And you already have an attitude after the Taco Bell incident.
I just always have an attitude. No, I'm really pretty kind in drive-thrus, to be honest with you.
I feel like you're the guy that should order through the app.
No, I'm actually like, people love me in the drive-thru, I feel like, but I always get compliments on my sunglasses and stuff. It's really weird. But anyway, so it's very strange. I'm telling you, I'm like, what the hell are these people doing? So
what do your sunglasses look like? We just saw them.
They're Hallbrooks.
Yeah. Okay. Fine.
Oakley's.
All right.
But it's always some like 18-year-old kids like, hey man, I love your sunglasses. I'm like, thanks, man. So
somebody's trying to pick up a daddy in a Lincoln.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm in the Jack in the Box thing. So I get my tacos, right? And I pull around and I open them up and I can feel they're loaded with lettuce. And I'm like, God damn it. So I get my car and I drive around and I park the damn thing and I go to go into it so I can change my
Please tell me the
tacos.
door was locked.
Door's fucking locked. I was like, you motherfuckers. I step up to my car and then I look at the door and I throw my sack of food at the fucking building. And I get in my car and I leave. I was so mad.
And hungry.
Not really. I'm fat. But I'm like, this is unbelievable. Like how I hate COVID so much. Like, just let me go into a restaurant and
I want my tacos with no lettuce. And then they don't give them to you, and then you can't fix it.
Yeah, I can't fix it without going through the drive-thru, which they're like one of the only restaurants open right now. So the drive-thru's forever long.
Yeah, you're screwed. I had not this bad, and I've just taken the approach of the hell with it. I don't care anymore, right? That
was mine. That's why I threw the fucking bag at their head.
Right. Well, I was hungry.
Like, everybody else is like rioting and getting mad.
Monday.
Cocktail or Molotov cocktail taco. Boom.
Monday. Sarah and I have been working at the county fair all week, volunteering in the evenings. We went to Wendy's Monday night. Went to
here in town.
Here in town.
It's busy all the time.
We went to the drive that
they double wide drive through that doesn't really work that well, but
we went to Wendy's and they have the dining room closed. So if somebody has to pull forward, some kid grabs a chair and props it open. I see this as I'm going through the drive-through line. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to be able to go back inside. I ordered a salad. I ordered a Caesar salad.
Their dining room is not closed.
It was closed that night because the guy was propping the door open.
The dining room's closed very early. So
it closes early.
8:30, 9 o'clock.
Yeah,
Dakota goes to bed at 7 if it's not for the podcast, so he wouldn't know.
Yeah.
I am up past my bedtime.
So this kid's propping the door open, so I'm like, there's no way. And I've done the same thing. I waited through the drive-through line, ordered my food.
Yep.
I get my stuff handed to me. I can hear the chaos of somebody saying, I need more Caesar, whatever, from the walk-in. So I grab my stuff. I pull forward, so I'm not in the way. I look in the bag. I got no dressing. I got no Caesar dressing. And there's no way to fix it.
Yeah.
There's no fixing it. And now I've got my romaine lettuce and I'm like, well, I'm going to go home and whatever the hell I got. And that's the way it's going to go.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I'm not eating lettuce. So it's, again, I'm not proud about what I did, but I did it and it felt really good. I don't feel proud about it, but it felt good. Like I just was like, I've always wanted to throw my food at Taco Bell's window. And I've not done that yet. To just watch my cheesy gordita crunch with lettuce slowly fall down the window.
Did you take it out of the bag and throw the tacos? Like 60?
I just threw the whole damn bag. No, I was like, fuck. And just threw it out the window. And it was just and I was just mad at Marion County and everything.
Sometimes you just need to throw something.
Sometimes you just need to throw a taco.
I don't go to the gym and work out. So honestly, that's all I have.
I feel like there have been times where I've been angry and I just throw something.
Yeah.
And then I immediately feel a lot better.
There was a meme joke real quick. I know we're trying to leave, but there was a joke about gamers and they built this it was like a meme commercial or whatever, but they are it's like those products nobody wants things. So you put your controller in this phone blow up thing and you play with that way so you can just take the whole thing throw it. I was like, that's actually, I would probably use that. I would actually end up throwing I've never thrown my controller since I was 10, but I would probably throw my controller more often if I could have the luxury to do so. Not at my TV, though.
I chucked my phone one time playing COD Mobile.
Oh, I've chucked my phone so many times.
Just chucked it.
As they've gotten more expensive, that's happened less and less and less. But
this was 5-6 months ago.
Yeah.
In the wintertime.
I throw them into the couch. I'm like, and just throw them into the couch.
No, I was at work. I threw it across my office.
Oh.
Yeah.
There's an IndyCar video game coming out again. So I am going to be back in
the gaming world.
In the gaming world. I don't know.
I will probably not be playing with you, but I wish you Godspeed.
I don't know which platform I need to have. I don't remember when the game comes out, but whatever it is,
I hope it's on a Switch.
It's going to be on Surface tablet. No, it's made by Motorsports Games, and it's going to be on the PlayStation, Xbox, and Windows-based deal.
Perfect.
First new IndyCar game in 20 years.
I remember playing the other one.
So I'm going to get it. It should be ready in 2023, so I've got a while.
Yeah, they'll push it back.
I probably won't be getting it probably won't be working on my Xbox One. I'm actually going to have to break down and get an Xbox 7 or whatever the hell it is.
Xbox One Series X. Xbox Series X.
I'm going to have to get one of those probably. So I've never made the jump to PlayStation. I've been an Xbox guy since the 360, so that's probably what
Don't diverge.
All right, that's enough of this. You guys are awesome. We'll see you next week for a show, and we don't know what the hell we'll talk about.